Now, this next segment is going to be a bit of a story time, and I'm really excited to share about this. I also don't know if I legally can because there's been lots of like rumors of like people getting like sued or like I don't know. I don't think I signed anything. But about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, I did a week-long advanced meditation retreat. Okay. I know exactly what you're thinking. Okay. You're imagining this place where you walk in and it smells like sage and there's like old people everywhere that aren't wearing bras and there's like dreadlocks and burlap and like all these things. I know what you're expecting. That was not this. Okay. So there is this doctor named Joe Dispenza, and he is the one that is like leading this retreat. It's called the Joe Dispenza, week long. It's a thing. I promise it's a thing. And so I went with my mom. It was here in Nashville. My sister actually went 3 weeks prior to one in Marco Island in Florida. And then she told us, she was like, you guys, you have to go to one. Like, you have to do the Joe Dispenza week-long meditation retreat. Like, it'll change your life. You have to do it. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, not really thinking twice about it. Then my mom calls me. Mind you, these events sell out in like minutes. Like, they sell out really, really fast. But my mom calls me a few days later and goes, Bryce, there's one in Nashville and it's in a few weeks and there's spots available left still. So naturally, I'm gagged because I'm like, holy fuck, there's one in Nashville. So I don't have to pay to travel anywhere and I don't have to pay to stay in like a hotel for a week, and I don't have to go to like a strange city. I can literally sleep in my own bed and like still go to this retreat, and I can do it with my mom. Like, that'd be amazing. So we ended up going online and we booked our tickets, and we booked my mom's flight, and it was, in few words, transformative. It was insane. We meditated for 40 hours over the course of 6 days, which is a lot of fucking meditation. It's a lot of time by yourself. It's a lot of time in silence, and it's a lot of time in your own head with your own thoughts. And my mom is like total like Northwestern hippie. Like, she's done her time. She owns a yoga studio. She's been teaching meditation for years and years and years. She's studied from the best. And so the fact that even she felt like she had something to learn from this experience really was like, okay, Bryce, you really should do this, because if your mom, who is very experienced and very skilled and very talented and trained in something, really thinks that she has something to learn from this experience, then maybe it's a sign that you should go to. And I'll tell you a little bit about like his methods or whatever. So basically the whole idea behind the Joe Dispenza like meditation method is to shorten the distance between the thing you want and the experience of actually having it. Okay, so it's like, here's your end goal, or here's something you want. And how can you close the gap of time and space between where you are now and where you are with that thing? And so you meditate about your future. Now, here was like the experience. Okay, so also you should know, prior to the retreat, you're required to do a online progressive course, workshop, whatever you want to call it, in order to prepare for the actual retreat. So you have a little bit of prior knowledge going into it. You have a little bit of experience in meditation because you did the ones in the progressive online course. So we both did that, and then we get here, and then we go in on Saturday for check-in. Okay, so Saturday night, it's like 5:30 p.m. We go to check in. You walk in, you get your little badge, okay, and then you go into this room where there's a bunch of different tables set up, and they're all colors. And then they tell you pick a color for the whole week. Like, you walk in day one, and you have to pick a color, and that's the color that you get for the whole week. And everyone has to do this. Okay, so there's 5 colors. My mom and I are looking at each other like, what the fuck? Like, what color are we gonna pick? Like, we don't want to be with the weirdos. We don't want to be with the lamos, but we also like want to like embrace the experience of this retreat and everything that it has to offer. So like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? So we ended up choosing red because it honestly, just because it had the shortest line. But we go up and they like write down our names. They give us a t-shirt, all the things. And then he goes, welcome to red. I was like, oh my God, what in the divergent is this shit? I was like, oh my God, I'm dauntless. Like, literally, I'm with the cool kids. Like, this is right where I need to be. It was so awesome. It was so surreal. So we got our little badges. We get our red lanyards. So we're basically team red, group red. And the only reason they like make you choose a color is because they have to like kind of section. There's 1,500 people at this event, or 2,000 people at this event. So they have to like keep people in somewhat of groups for like lunch and stuff. We like eat with our colors. And like when we sit through lectures and meditations, like we have to sit in our like section, our group section for our group color. And that's why they do it. But yeah, so that's all we did day one. And we sat through like a short little lecture of what the rest of the week was going to look like. Then day 2 is this Sunday. We get there at 6 a.m. is when we start. Okay, 6 in the morning, which is like fine, except for like we're commuting and it's like 20 minutes away from my house. You know, we're up pretty early. We get to the convention center at 6 in the morning, and every morning you start with a meditation. Usually he like gives a little like information in the beginning of the meditation of like what it's going to look like, and then the meditation is usually like 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so we do our meditation, then we go to breakfast, then we come back, sit through a lecture, then we go out for like lunch or whatever, and then we come back for another meditation. Also, there's like 3 different types of meditation. There's sitting, laying, and walking. So every day we had a different variation of these 3 meditations. So like sometimes at 6 a.m. we would do a walking meditation, or sometimes in the evening we do a walking meditation, or sometimes we like do a laying one. You know, all these things. There was a variety. And then at the end of the day, we did one more meditation after another lecture before we left. And so we'd get there at 6 a.m. and we left at around 8:39 p.m. every single day for the next 6 days total. Okay. And some of our meditations were 25 minutes, but some of our meditations were 5 hours long. I kid you not. No pissing breaks, no drinking water, no eating, no nothing. You are sitting there meditating for 5 hours straight. And I'll tell you all about it in just a minute. It was insane. Okay. So you are meditating so much. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, the first like 2-3 days were really hard. Were really hard. No one prepares you, especially for me, going from 0 meditation to very extensive, intense meditations from 0 to 100 very fast. And so the first 3 days were really challenging for me to like sit still for hours on end. And like you can't like lay down or like sit against the back of a chair. You are like sitting up in a chair with good posture, or else you're not doing it right. You know, your chin is up. All of these things, your feet are flat on the floor. You're engaging your core, you're engaging your muscles. Like you don't really think about how hard doing those things is for an extended period of time until you do it, you know, and your eyes are closed. But generally speaking, when your eyes are open, there are lots of things to distract us from what's really going on in our mind. There are lots of things keeping us from over analyzing our daily subconscious thoughts. Like we don't really think about it. They're in and out because there's so many things to distract ourselves with. But when you're in your meditation, there is absolutely nothing keeping you from evaluating each and every single thought that comes through your mind. And it's part of the practice, right? Part of his methods is the idea of change, right? You know, your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings are what make up your personality. And in order to change your personal reality, you have to change your personality. So in order to change your personality, you have to change the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. So you go into these meditations with a very open mind, and you kind of just feel everything and nothing at the same time. He says over the microphone, he says, become nothing, go into nothing, no body, no where, and no time. You have to literally become nothing. You have to remove your mind from your physical body. And it sounds daunting and it sounds crazy and it sounds like, whoa, what the fuck? And it is a little, whoa, what the fuck? But it's like actually kind of easy and everyone can do it. You just have to like practice long enough, and it's really freaking cool. But it really was like life changing. In order to change, you have to become conscious of your subconscious thoughts. And it's a really uncomfortable, grueling process. And in order to get to that place, you have to be comfortable like going into the unknown, right? You have to be comfortable understanding that you're not going to understand everything. Now, his whole like branding and like methods are all kind of teaching you how to change your own life, right? He talks all the time about this addiction that we have to our stress hormones and the excuses and things in our life that we use to reaffirm our addictions in order to keep us in our loop, in order to remain the same person. You know, we all have this loop, and it kind of starts like this. It starts with a thought, okay, that leads to a choice, that leads to an action or a behavior, that then leads to an experience, and then leads to a feeling, okay? Now, the average human has 60,000 thoughts every single day, and 95% of those thoughts are from yesterday. You're thinking the exact same things that you thought the day before. So if you're thinking the same things, then you're making the same choices that lead to the exact same actions and behaviors that lead to the exact same experience that leads to feeling the exact same way. And we get trapped in this cycle and so comfortable in that loop that we just become one person and never change. And that's why it's so hard to get out of that realm of change, because we're so safe, we're so comfortable, we've been doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, you know, feeling the exact same way. But with this meditation method, you learn to control your thoughts and feelings. You learn to be conscious of your subconscious thoughts. You learn how to literally control and create your own reality, your own experience. Because if you can become conscious of your subconscious thoughts, then you can change your thoughts. And if you change your thoughts, then you get access to new choices. And those new choices lead to new actions and behaviors. And those new actions and behaviors lead to new experiences. And then those experiences become new feelings. And they become good feelings. Feelings of joy, feelings of love, feelings of gratitude. All of these things that so many people like want to feel in their everyday lives and are like trying at all the wrong ways to get there. All they have to do is like literally close their eyes and take control of their own mind. And I say it like it's easy, but it like low-key kind of is. Like, I hate to break it to you, babe, but you can do it too. Like, all you gotta do is close your eyes. The one thing that I will say from this experience is that I will never believe in anyone or anything more than I believe in myself. And the fact that that's not a lie, the fact that that's truth, and the fact that I feel really like just gracious in saying that just like means so much to me. And it's not coming from anyone. It's not coming from anything. It's coming from myself. I am the creator of my own joy. I'm the reason for my gratitude, the reason for the love that I feel is not because of anything in my environment. It's because of me. It's because of my thoughts and feelings that I am choosing to experience. So that was a really huge part of this meditation and like a big part of like the method and like the why behind what we're doing. Now, I mentioned like the whole like creating your own life and then closing the distance between the thing you want and actually having it. There's another big part of his methods where it comes to creating, okay? So it's kind of loosely like manifestation. He referenced this study from the 40s that I think actually explains it like quite kind of perfectly. But there was this doctor or scientist, Burr, in the 1940s, 1946, I believe it was, and he studied the patterns in biofields around women, right? And he found that all women with uterine cancer shared the exact same pattern in their bioelectric fields. And then he found other women that shared the same pattern in their field, but didn't have uterine cancer. So then he got to thinking, he was like, well, what the fuck? Like, what? I don't even know what to do with all this information that I just acquired. But then come to find out that every single woman that shared that pattern in their field that didn't have uterine cancer ended up developing uterine cancer. What we knew to be true up until then was that things that exist in the three-dimensional world matter, right? They express a certain pattern in their field. And we thought that the way that things are the way that things create this pattern. But what he discovered is that the information, the pattern in the field actually exists before it manifests in three-dimensional reality, which is like kind of crazy because basically he was like telling people that he could predict uterine cancer by measuring their biofields, which is insane. Okay, absolutely insane. But then he was like, okay, well, then this means that if I can change the information in the field, then I can change the product of matter. Thus came Joe Dispenza and his teachings. Now, I share that information with you not because I want to like convince you to go do this or like do whatever you want, but simply because I'm a numbers person and I like proof. I like facts. I like statistics. I want to see the research and I want to see your credentials and I want to see, give me a good reason to trust you and hear what you're saying. And so this is why I never like engaged in meditation or anything like that before, because I always kind of just assumed it was just like some hippie thing with like little to no research behind it. Like I knew it like, it helps you with like anxiety or it like calms you down or whatever, but I've never really associated it with manifestation and health and all of these things. But they combined neuroscience, quantum physics, and neuroendocrinology with real doctors and real scientists and give you all this information about how you can really like start to create your own life. And so in these meditations, you learn how to, connect is the word that they use quite often. You learn to connect with the potential, the possibility, the future reality. You learn to connect and see and feel so clearly, so evidently, what your future could look like. You tune into that possibility, you tune into that reality. And then when you open your eyes out of that meditation, suddenly you are that person. You're living that reality. Science tells us that we make new connections in our brain every time we do something for the first time or every time we learn a new skill or experience something new. Now, in these meditations, you basically trick your brain into experiencing something. So you meditate about doing the thing and you feel what it would feel like to do that thing or to have that thing, and you trick your brain into making the connection as if you really did it in the three-dimensional world, when in reality you never lifted a finger. And so that when you do live that experience in the three-dimensional world, it's second nature because you've already made that connection. You've already been there before. You know how to handle it, you know how to deal with it, and you're ready for it because it is no longer a new experience. So you can form new connections in your brain rapidly and make new connections whenever you want if you learn how to get good enough at it. So it's been really interesting and it's been really scary. Honestly, I've had a few, like, I guess they refer to them as mystical experiences, which, like, I don't know why I do this. That's exactly what the fuck they are. One time I pyro projected, what is the word? I don't know. I left my body and saw me dead. Like in one of the meditations, this is like my first breakthrough. I like left my body and like saw my dead body on like a hospital table. So that was really scary. That was really terrifying. And then in another time, I accidentally channeled my dead great aunt, my Auntie Clyde. Very lovely person. But she's been dead for 6 years, and I like got to see her and talk to her. So that was really crazy. But since then, I've just been keeping up with my meditation and doing my practices and just learning more and more and more about myself and about my brain. There's lots of mixed emotions behind meditation, and there's lots of like different information and different things out there. And I urge you to do your own research, and I urge you to fact check every word that comes out of my mouth and use your resources, wisely. However, what I do know to be true for me is that whatever I'm doing, it's working and it's raised my productivity, my passion, my drive to become the person that I know I can and want and need to be is at an all-time high because I already know who that person is. I've already experienced what it's like to live in my idealistic future. So all I have to do is live the experience. When you know what you're doing and you know why you're doing it, then the how becomes so much easier. It's so much easier for me to just wake up every day and trust the process and just take everything with a grain of salt, really, because I know that eventually I'm going to get to where I need to be. If I stay on track, if I live as the person that I need to be and as I want to be and as I choose to be, then ultimately I will get to a place that I'm satisfied with. You know what I mean? It just makes everything easier. It makes inconveniences easier. It makes new experiences, new challenges easier. There's this thing called the predictable future, right? And then there's this thing called the familiar past. Both are loops, okay? That I told you about the thinking, choosing, behaving, experience, feeling, like that loop, right? That is the familiar past and that is the predictable future. The only place where there are infinite possibilities is the sweet, generous present moment. And knowing that fact, knowing that there is absolutely nothing but possibility in the present moment and nothing but room for growth is just so exciting. And it makes me so excited to wake up every single day. It makes me so excited to turn on the camera and, open my phone or, just do daily tasks because I know that every single thing that I'm doing today is getting me one step closer to that end goal. Do what you want. I'm going to meditate because it makes me really, really happy. There's so much power in knowing that you can feel exactly how you want and need to whenever you want. It's really nice and it's really gorgeous and it's a gift that I didn't think I needed, but a gift that I can no longer live without. So all in all, I meditated a very long time. I thought a very long time. I left my body a few times. I, reprogrammed some wires that were a little fucked up. You go in there and you untangle the knots. You sort through everything in your life that you've been avoiding. And suddenly you open your eyes and you can see clearly. You can know exactly where you need to go and you start to trust the process. Like I said prior, like you just start to fall in love with the process. So I'll leave you with that. I'll stop boring you with the details, but kind of to sum everything up that I already talked about with my new song called Nothing's Real. Obviously now you know why I wrote the song and like why I'm meditating and why my journal is so cutesy and why I love my eye mask. Long story short, it's because I've been meditating like a crazy bastard that I am. But yeah, no, I've been obsessed with it. I've been learning lots and I've been loving it so much.